On the smoldering shores of Isla Cardina, the ruins of Fort Santos still whisper of fire, betrayal, and death. 3 bodies lie lifeless in the sand, a captain is missing, and the only clue is a trail leading into the shadows of the mountains. With a storm gathering over the sea, secrets long buried threaten to rise, and men must choose between survival, loyalty, and the price of truth. Every heartbeat counts, every step could be the last, and the line between friend and foe has blurred beyond recognition. This is not just a fight for life, it's a battle to preserve justice, uncover treachery, and confront a conspiracy that could shake an entire nation. In the heart of danger, 2 men, bound by a fragile trust, must navigate gunfire, treacherous cliffs, and the relentless pursuit of a vengeful enemy. One wrong move could doom them forever, but courage and cunning might just tip the scales. The sea watches, the night listens, and history itself hangs in the balance. March 21, 1875. At 6:42 in the morning, smoke still rose over the shores of Isla Cardina. Half of Fort Santos had burned to the ground. On the sand lay 3 bodies: Luis Carmen, 31 years old, Esteban Rocha, 26, and a third whose face was burned beyond recognition. Lieutenant Samuel Drake, 30, knelt down, staring at the hands of the third body. "This can't be the captain," he whispered. Captain Elias Whitmore, 39, had a small scar on the right-hand pinky, a mark from the Civil War. This body bore no such mark, and Elias was nowhere in sight. From the sea came a voice, "Sir, there are boat tracks here." Drag marks ran along the sand, accompanied by a thin line of blood leading toward the rocks. At the same time, on a mountain path behind the fort, Miguel Salazar, 28, ran with labored breaths, blood dripping from his shoulder. Alongside him, a shadow moved, Captain Elias Whitmore. "You were going to betray me," Elias said. Miguel laughed, doubled over in pain. "I wasn't going to betray you, I was going to use you. Do you see the difference?" They moved toward a secret cave known only to Miguel. Behind them, Rafael Montero, 43, shouted, "He's alive. Capture him." Bullets ricocheted off the rocks. By 1:15 p.m. the same day, in Port Haven, Maryland, Margaret Whitmore, 35, stood at the docks clutching the morning newspaper. The headline read, "Caribbean Explosion, Naval Operation Suspected." There was no name in the article, no confirmation. Thomas Redford, 44, approached her. "We've received a telegraph from Washington, but it's incomplete." Margaret looked into his eyes. "Is he alive?" Thomas remained silent, then slowly said, "They sent only one line, asset possibly recovered." Margaret repeated the word, asset. "That's not an object. That's my husband." In Washington City on March 23, 1875, at 9:03 p.m., President Ulysses S. Grant, 52, was briefed on the confidential report. Colin Braxton, 42, traced his finger over a map. "Sir, after the explosion, our men secured the fort. Whitmore was not found, and Montero escaped." The president exhaled deeply. "So what did we gain?" Braxton lowered his eyes. "A ruined fort, and an open question." In the mountains of Isla Cardina at 11:48 p.m., a torch burned inside the cave. Elias Whitmore sat, injured but conscious. Miguel leaned against the wall, his wound still bleeding. "Why are you saving me?" Elias asked. Miguel forced a smile. "Because Rafael will kill you, and if he kills you, he becomes a martyr. But if you live, he becomes a failed leader." Elias studied him closely. "You don't want a revolution. You want power." Miguel closed his eyes. "Every revolution hides a hunger for power, Captain." Suddenly, footsteps approached outside the cave. Montero's men were near. Miguel leveled his gun at Elias. "If I die, you take the mountain path down. There's an old boat. And you." Miguel coughed through a laugh. "I've already made my deal, the price just hasn't been paid yet." From outside came the shout, "Miguel, we know you're inside." Rafael stepped forward, torchlight casting long shadows across the cave's entrance. Elias gripped his gun. He was a soldier, yet also a prisoner, perhaps now a pawn. Rafael's voice rang, "Captain Whitmore. Come out, and I'll kill you with honor. Stay, and I'll burn this cave." Miguel whispered, "The choice is yours, peace, or survival." The smell of gunpowder spread. Someone lit another torch. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of Margaret, of Clara, of the Port Haven docks, of the note that said, "He still breathes." Suddenly, a gunshot echoed. A scream rang out inside the cave. Stones shattered. The torch fell. And then, darkness. Elias Whitmore, 39, opened his eyes. Torchlight illuminated his face. Miguel, 28, sat on the ground, wounded but conscious. Rafael Montero, 43, approached the cave entrance, each step echoing over the rocks. Elias held his gun firmly. His heart raced. This was more than survival, it was a game of politics, where every choice balanced life and death. Miguel whispered, "Captain, you must go forward. Staying here will kill you." Elias nodded slowly. "If I survive, I'll alert Port Haven. And you will answer for this." Miguel smiled faintly. "And if I survive, then Montero will see that power is never permanent." On the USS Hawthorne, Lieutenant Samuel Drake, 30, watched smoke rise from the island. Would Whitmore survive? Would the American contingent arrive in time? The ship's captain said, "We can't delay. A storm is coming." In Port Haven, Margaret Whitmore waited anxiously, holding Clara, 9, close. Every sound, every ship's horn, every plume of smoke was a signal. Thomas Redford said, "Sir, a message from Washington, incomplete. It reads, Asset possibly en route." Margaret's eyes welled with tears, but her lips remained calm. "Asset, that's my husband, not an object." Elias and Miguel descended the mountain path. Only moonlight and distant lightning lit the dangerous trail. "This path is treacherous, if we get trapped, no one survives," Miguel said. Elias replied softly, "I'm not trying to survive. I want the truth to live. Whatever happened must be recorded." Miguel nodded, a strange calm settling in. Behind them, Montero's forces closed in, every snapping branch and rustling leaf giving away their position. "We must split," Elias said. "I take one route, you take the other, we'll reach the sea." Miguel considered, his intent is clear, I'll never let him dictate the end of my life. From the USS Hawthorne, Captain George Holland, 46, and Lieutenant Drake watched through binoculars. "Look at the boat tracks. That could be Whitmore." Drake said, "We just need one chance. If we delay, the storm will end everything." At the mountain summit, Elias and Miguel approached a narrow deserted path flanked by rocks. "From here, we can see the sea. If we survive, this is our signal," Miguel said. Elias inhaled deeply. "And if we don't, history will forget us." Raphael's shout rang out from behind, "I'll catch you and kill you." Elias held his gun tighter. Miguel stepped forward slowly. This battle was not just for survival, it was for truth, justice, and politics. The island watched it all. At 2:17 a.m., Elias Whitmore and Miguel Salazar reached the mountain top. Below, faint lights glimmered from the USS Hawthorne. Elias said quietly, "The sea, if we reach it, our lives may be saved. If not, this is the end." Miguel nodded. "I've made many mistakes in life, Captain, but this one might be the biggest if we don't survive." On the USS Hawthorne, Drake scanned the distance. "Captain, 2 lights on the shore. That must be Whitmore and his companion." Captain Holland ordered, "All hands ready. We have one chance, and we must act before the storm hits." The ship moved slowly forward. Every wave, every gust pressed down, testing them. Elias and Miguel slipped between rocks. "Montero is close, we must deceive him," Elias said. Miguel smiled, "I know, that's your nature, Captain. I just want to get you to the sea." Rafael Montero advanced with 15 loyal men, hiding behind a back mountain path. "They cannot escape. If they survive, I lose power." His men raised their rifles. Each step caused the ground to tremble like a heartbeat. At the mountain's edge overlooking the sea, Elias drew a deep breath. "We jump here. Falling may bring death, succeeding is just the beginning." Miguel asked, "Captain, have you ever considered the difference between life and politics?" Elias nodded. "The difference is, in politics, every person is a pawn. In life, every person owns their destiny." The USS Hawthorne neared the cliff edge. "From here, we can rescue them by boat," Drake said. "One chance, and the risk is highest here." Elias and Miguel reached the cliff, checked the ropes and guns one last time. Elias said, "If we survive, this story is not just ours. It is for Port Haven, Washington, the world. A story of humanity, courage, and faith." Miguel nodded. "Trust me, Captain, destiny is never fully in one's hands, but choice always is." They leapt from the cliff. The sea embraced them. The USS Hawthorne's lights guided the way. Rafael Montero and his men watched in disbelief. Elias Whitmore survived. Miguel Salazar survived. But this was only the first victory. Many secrets, political games, and trials awaited. The sea cradled Elias and Miguel, 39 and 28 years old respectively. The USS Hawthorne glimmered in the distance. Every wave, every breath quickened like the pulse of time. Elias moved his hands in the water, heading toward the rocks. We survived, but what comes next? Miguel whispered, Captain, the greatest test in life is not survival, it's choosing between ethics and purpose. In Port Haven, Margaret Whitmore's heart jumped at the sight of the ship lights. Clara held her mother's hand. Mom, is Dad alive? Margaret inhaled deeply, tears in her eyes, lips calm. We must have hope, daughter, this war isn't over. Thomas Redford read the telegraph from Washington, Asset en route. Proceed with caution. Margaret said firmly, Asset. That's my husband, not an object. Every moment is a signal of his life. On the mountain path of Isla Cardina, Elias and Miguel moved cautiously among the rocks. Elias said, Montero is behind, we must deceive him. Miguel smiled, Captain, it's your nature, but sometimes trust is the only path. Behind them, Raphael's shouts rang, I'll kill you. No one survives. On the USS Hawthorne, Drake watched. Captain, that's Whitmore and his companion. If we arrive in time, rescue is possible. Holland ordered, all crew ready. This opportunity comes once, and we must act before the storm. The ship advanced slowly, every wave and gust pressing down. The team didn't pause for a moment, time was against them, and the storm approached. At the cliff edge, Elias glanced at the torchlight. Miguel checked his gun one last time. Elias said, if we reach the sea alive, this story is not just ours, it will be a lesson for Port Haven, Washington, and the world. A story of humanity, courage, and faith. Miguel nodded. Trust me, Captain, destiny is never entirely in your hands, but choice always is. Together, they leapt from the cliff. The sea received them. The USS Hawthorne's light guided the way. Rafael Montero and his men watched, astonished, as two humans survived against all odds. On the deserted island, Elias and Miguel reached the shore. Each breath told a story of resolve, each step a testament to humanity, bravery, and loyalty. Elias said to Miguel, this fight wasn't just about survival. It was about truth, justice, and determination. We've won, but this story is far from over. Miguel replied, yes, Captain, tougher trials await, but we are ready. The stormy, tense waves whispered their first victory, yet deeper mysteries, political games, and tests awaited. Elias Whitmore, 39, and Miguel Salazar, 28, had survived the island. Each wave quickened their pulse, the USS Hawthorne glimmering in the distance. Elias moved his hands through the water toward the rocks. We survived, but what will happen next? Miguel whispered, Captain, the greatest test isn't surviving, it's deciding between ethics and purpose.